Hi, everybody. This is LJ Perry. I'm the Director of Operations for Lit Conversations. We are a nonprofit that puts working professionals in conversations with students. We're here tonight with Everett Public Schools, and our guest speaker of honor is Anna Audycki, and she is the Director of Construction. Hopefully, I got that title right, from Lennar. And Corey, anything to say before we kick off today?
Welcome, Ms. Audycki. Thank you guys for joining us. We have a couple students on. To the audience who will be watching this via YouTube, thank you guys for joining us. Super excited. We have a CTE program that's very much aligned with the work that you do. And as usual, thank you for your time. Time is the most important thing and the best thing that you could give to our students. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. So, Anna, if you want to just kind of give us a little background on who you are, how you got interested in construction, and just kind of take it from there. We'll just have a nice conversation.
Okay, great. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me. I think this is a great program and looking forward to speaking with you. So I'm Anna, as was mentioned, and if you were to tell me in high school that I would end up in construction, I would not have believed you. It wasn't really on my radar. I like to draw, so I thought when it was time to choose a major for college, I thought I'll be an architect. That made sense to me and was totally set on it. So I went to college at the University of Hartford in Connecticut and had a priceless time there, had so much fun, made the best friends, and was part of the student government, which I really like to plan events. And I was really interested in that. And then the school portion was difficult, being in the architecture program. I knew that I loved buildings and I thought I was going to be a famous architect. But there was a moment of reality at some point during college where I realized that my ambition was a lot higher than my design skills, and everyone around me was producing really cool, unique designs, and my designs were not there. And so I had to take a hard look at, just the reality of what is my career going to look like, and what can I do with an architecture degree that's somewhat in the industry, because I did enjoy the building aspect of it and learning about buildings. So one spring in college, I every single day I applied for a summer job and ended up getting an internship for a historical preservation company, which was interesting, but it just wasn't the right fit that I was looking for. And then the following summer, I had an internship with an architecture firm in the interior design department. And I thought maybe I'll be an interior architect, something a little bit more specialized. But again, as much as I enjoyed the environment, I didn't think that the design was a really good fit for me. And then it wasn't until my senior year of college, I took a construction management course and thought that it clicked and, maybe this could be it, but still a little unsure because I didn't know much about it. But it was time to graduate and I needed a job. So I applied for jobs and had one at a development company for entry-level construction management, and didn't know what that would look like, but started my career there, and we built luxury apartments, which was awesome. They had the most amazing designs with top-of-the-line finishes and resort-style pools and amenity spaces, and it was really a product that I could be proud of being a part of at the end of the day. So that's where my career started, at the entry-level position there, and then got promoted to the assistant project manager and then to project manager, and then recently switched companies and now the director. So worked my way up.
Wow. Well, congratulations. I'm curious as you tell your story. Um, are there challenges unique to being a woman in the construction business?
Yeah, there are. And it's kind of tough to answer the question because I don't know what it's like being a man in the industry, so I can't really compare it. But when I went into it, I thought it was going to be a lot different than it was in terms of the challenges I faced. I thought it was going to be a lot of locker room talk, which there's some individuals, of course, but I did receive respect in that manner. But where I did face challenges, I think the hardest part was actually a few years into my career, when I knew what I was doing somewhat, and I would have to come into a situation as the authority, and tensions can get high, and coming into a group in a situation that is escalated, and being a woman where everyone else is a man, and I don't have the biggest stature, so I'd get dismissed, and that was really difficult for me to get through. But I found different tactics. I read a lot of books, and relationships are super important with people. So building trust with people on site is huge. And so there's ways to get around it and get through it. But yeah, sometimes it is difficult just because there's so many personalities, and it's not as common for a woman to be in construction.
Thank you for that. What is, I'm thinking about you and the work that you're doing, but the thing that pops in my head is like when people hear construction, they think heavy lifting, getting dirty, hard hats, yellow jumpsuits or fluorescent jumpsuits. Like how many different jobs are sort of wrapped around in the business?
Oh, there are so many different types of jobs in the business, and it's for a variety of reasons, but really there are different types of buildings you can build. So each type of building has different roles that go into it. But just as an overview, you have the design team, which is the architects, engineers. They're involved with the process from the beginning. And then my role is more so oversight of the whole just project. But then you have the trades, and there's a huge shortage of people entering the trades right now. But each trade, like the framers, plumbers, electrician, they all have their own construction team, and they're more specialized and expert at those trades. And so there's project managers for those companies, and there's people that are involved in getting the contracts together, on my side, on the oversight side, on the trade side. So there's so many different roles. You have the foreman, project managers, you have people in charge of the budget, schedulers. So a lot of different roles.
I think that's a huge misconception, and I wanted our students to hear, right? The amount of roles that you can play. Obviously, there's a hierarchy of salary in those positions as well. So I think that is a key piece. You guys are building in Everett, huh?
Yeah, so we're building on Norman Street. It's still in the pre-construction phase right now, but it's going to be 396 units. So it's going to be a pretty big apartment building.
Pardon my ignorance, 396 units mean what?
Apartment
396 apartments are coming into Everett. Okay. All right. You guys hear that? Hopefully it's we got some rent control happening in Everett. Hopefully that happens. I don't want to hog up the mic now. LJ, you have any further questions? I have more.
Like if you're going to be a project manager or a director of construction, how well do you have to know everyone's jobs? Like, do you have to understand plumbing, electrical, and concrete and all that, or?
You know what? That's a really good question. And that's something that I didn't truly understand until I was in the business too. You don't, in order to be a project manager, you don't need to be an expert on everything. You just have to know a little bit about everything in order to know what step to take it to next. Because essentially, the role is just to be a facilitator. I'm not going to be hammering anything. Or doing any of the hard work. So if something needs to happen, you need to know, okay, now I need to take it to the plumber. Okay, this is a question for the electrician. This is something for the structural engineer. So it's really knowing enough about what's going on, enough about the project itself, and then enough about who to go to in situations.
I often think about when I look at buildings being built, how do you know when they're done? Like seriously, like how do you know, like do you as a director just walk around with like a big clipboard, like checking things off and like you gotta check for quality and all that stuff? How do you guys know that? I mean, it's a ridiculous talent to have.
Yeah, there are a lot of checks and balances. So during each phase of construction, there's checklists, there's inspectors, and inspections that need to be done. And it all needs to be checked off in a little box, like you said. And then when everything's installed, there's these things called punch lists, which someone will go around, make a list of everything that they see wrong with the project, then you have to come back and repair it. And then it comes to a point once you have fixed everything and then you sign off and then it's done. But that whole process can take a while.
Yeah, so if a building with like 396 units, how long do you anticipate that taking?
So that is a 3-year project. So it takes a while, but what we do is break it up into phases. So we'll determine chunks of the building that will turn over. And so there will be people living in the first part of the building while we're still constructing the rest of the building, finishing the painting and the finishes.
Wow. Geez, that's so how did you become, what particular skill do you like if you're our students who are watching this, what kind of particular skills do you recommend they really sharpen? Obviously networking is one of them, right? You have to sell yourself as being closer to the expertise. So what kind of skills do you think they should really try to acquire? Obviously there's some technical skills around like architecture and stuff, but like, I mean, other people break in other ways.
Mm-hmm. So I think to think about from a high school perspective and thinking about construction, some skills, you have to be people oriented or like to work in teams. It's like a giant group project. So that's really a huge part of it. And it is about relationships, and the technical knowledge will follow. I didn't know anything when I first started. So that would follow.
Gabby.
Hi, my question is, do you get any benefits with a job that other jobs might not get due to the safety hazards of the field?
You know what? I don't know because I'm not sure what other people's benefits are, but safety is a huge part of the job as well. So we're all trained. Anyone in construction must be trained through OSHA to be certified to recognize job hazards and know what's safe and what's not. But that is a huge part of the job too. And just, does that look right? Does that not look safe? And communicating that and relaying to people, hey, put on your hard hat and whatnot.
I'm scared of heights. So what about like, how does that work in your field? Like, do you really, like, aren't you like petrified of like watching people build things and they're like loose? They're like not even cabled up, and like how do you get over that? How do you deal with that? Unless that's an acquired taste or that's something that you naturally have.
So yeah, there are a ton of checks and balances when it comes to safety, and for each trade, for example, the roofers have a certain set of criteria that they need to meet in order to be safe doing their job. And then part of the construction management team is to ensure that they're following those rules, and to let them know, hey, you're not following the rules, you need to correct it.
If you're hundreds of feet in the air, what are some of the rules? I don't like stay alive. Like I'm just trying to figure out, because I literally drive and I see these buildings being built, and there's like random guys like leaning on top of, like, my legs start tingling. Like, what are I mean, if you don't know them, that's fine, but what kind of rules could there possibly be? Stay alive. That's rule number 1 is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well, everyone who's exposed to, we call it a leading edge, which is a fall hazard, you have to be tied off with a harness, and then on the other side where you're kind of anchored into the building has to be secure. And if even with that as well, we have guardrails that we put up temporarily on the roof edges, or if windows aren't installed yet, just to make sure that there's no safety hazards. So there is a lot of coordination that goes into that.
That is the one thing that I'm worried about. So, and then also like the high level of like machines that they're using, because that obviously makes the projects go by a lot quicker. So when you got promoted to director, right? What did you really, is this something that you see a career you see yourself in for a while? I should hope so, because that's why you're here. But where do you see yourself from here? Like, obviously you're super talented. You have an eye for the projects. Where do you think you could go from there? Like, are you going to be like building on Mars or something? I don't know. What's kind of like the next steps?
And that's a good question. And I'm already past where I thought I was going to be when I started. So what I've found with the construction industry is that there's unlimited paths that you can take, because there's so many new types of construction and new technologies that are coming out. So there could be a position that I don't even know about yet. And there is some sort of a hierarchy in construction management, but I think that when it comes to where you end up, it has to do with your skills and your interests. And for me, I like being part of the design, of course, because I studied architecture, so I have that interest. So that gives me some sort of edge, or that's my brand of what I can do in the industry. But there might be some people in my position that are very, very good at scheduling and really into that, so that could be their brand. So it really, I don't know where I'm going to end up, so I'm just kind of continuing to develop my interest and just seeing that as a stepping stone of where I could be in the future, because as the industry changes, who's to say what new roles will come up.
Right. And to speaking of architecture, right, that is so hard. I think I'm left-handed, and I feel like I don't know, like that's a different level of talent. And like when you are driving places, are you like staring at buildings like, hey, or hey, I could, like, what does it mean to be an architect relative to like seeing a building? Like, what are some of the work that you put in? You're you're mapping out the plan, you're writing it out, you're drawing it out. I'd always see on TV like these big blueprints, and I'm just like, yeah, well, they're just drawing lines. What is it like to be an architect?
So the architects are drawing out the plans, and they take it from a concept from whoever decides that they want to build a project. So the owner of the property would say, I want this type of project, and then they really put it together and develop it step by step. And just from my experience of just going to school and learning about the different elements and the reason behind certain design decisions, it is interesting to drive through a city and pick up certain things of how certain architectural elements could cause a shadow, which is cool. So there's a lot more meaning in architecture than you would think if you don't really look into it. And the more that you look at a building, probably the more that you recognize or pick up little details. And at some point in time, an architect had a reason for doing that.
Correct. See, that's what you hit right on where the direction I'm going, like the intricacies around it. Like, what is a newer building like compared to like a building built in like the 2000s, early 2000s? What are some of the new technology pieces, or like what are some of the newer buildings like there's all kinds of new developments going up? What are some of the new 21st century like unique things to buildings these days?
What I'm seeing is a lot of technology looking buildings, a lot of glass, and the seaport, for example, is all being built up. So I'm seeing a lot of glass panels, or and a lot of the structures are kind of big, almost sculptures when you look at the buildings in the sky, which is kind of unique compared to the rest of the city.
Yeah, I think that is, and then I guess based on, I know when you drive by, you like after you've completed a project, it's like, hey, that's my building. What does that feel like? Like that's a level of accomplishment, right? And this Everett project, is this like one of your biggest ones?
Yes. So the Everett project is the biggest project I've worked on so far. So it has a special place in my heart already. But yeah, to drive by a building is pretty cool. And the best part about it is that when I start on a construction site, it's sometimes in an area where there's nothing else around it at the time. And then to come back after the building is built and there are people living in it, and to see people walking around and the area is lively, and it really is creating a community and homes for people, which is really rewarding and probably the most rewarding part about it.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Gabby. You can read your question.
Okay. Do you travel often due to work, and what is the work-life balance like for you?
So I travel occasionally for big picture meetings for my company and training, but some people do travel often. There are some companies that will have someone who lives in Massachusetts, built a project in Florida, and then come back. So there are opportunities to travel, definitely. And work-life balance, there are sometimes a lot of long hour days. if there's, if we're behind schedule, it might take a little bit longer to complete a task and need people to stay, need the oversight there. So sometimes it does get pretty long days. But the good part is that usually people leave you alone after work. So unless it's an emergency, they do respect that you're at home and you don't have to answer emails until midnight every night.
So talk us through a day of a director of construction. What is it? How early does your day start? Right. You clearly just told us how it ends. Right? How does the day start? What are some of the tasks that happen in just the everyday, not the beginning of this Everett project? Like you have a major project going. What does that day look like?
Okay, so say it's a major day, middle of construction. There's a field team on site, and that team is working out of a construction trailer. And there's computers in the trailer. There's desks set up. So there is sort of a temporary office space. And the team is bouncing back between the trailer and the job site. So they might need to answer some emails, maybe some coordination items, the architect if there's a problem in the field. And then they get the answer, then they have to run out to the site and give the answer to the plumber who asked the question. So it is a lot of running back and forth between the trailer and the job site, which is really fun because it's not a typical working environment where you sit in an office all day and your days are what you want them to be. And there is flexibility in that. As long as you get your job done, you can go out, walk the job site and just check for quality, check for safety. There's a lot of things to do until the project is complete. So it is very busy. Sometimes you might be out trying to get the plumber that answer, and then you notice something, someone that's not safe, so you have to tell them to be safe and fix that. So it is a lot of jumping around. And it's funny because no day is typical, which is fun. So if someone is interested in that type of workplace, construction is definitely very busy and does not get boring.
It sounds like you're the last one to leave too, huh? Is that how it is?
Yes. So the good thing is it's a team environment. So you have several people on your construction oversight team, the construction management team. And so it might be that one person comes in to open the job site and someone closes it. But ultimately, no one is on the job site unless there's some oversight.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so all right, my last question. I know I'm bombarding you with questions. I guess this is part of what we're doing here, right? What is the path for a student? So Gabby loves marketing, right? Mm-hmm. And then she just decides because she listens to you that she wants to take this path towards being a director of construction sites and doing project management. What's her route? What's the route?
The good thing about construction is there is no set route yet. But if you are in high school and set on construction management, you can go to college for construction management programs or architecture, engineering. We see a lot of people entering from those majors. I've also seen from business majors because there is business involved. There's finances and business conversations that happen. So we see people from those majors too. And so go to school or not and work your way up through a trade maybe. And then you would start as a entry-level position, which is project engineer. And that is really taking pictures, doing quality control, the little things that need to be done on the job site, a lot of documentation that someone might not have time for if they're supervising. So that's kind of how you start in learning that way. And then assistant project manager, which is a little bit more responsibility, and then project manager, which oversees the construction site one at a time. And then from there, you can go to senior project manager or director, which is similar, which oversees the entire project team or two. And so right now, I have a project going in Alston and then working on the pre-construction for Everett. So there's multiple projects involved.
Make sure we get that Everett plug in there. And then in 3 years, when it's built up, we'll have to have you back. LJ?
Yeah, I was going to ask, how much of your day or your job in general, rather, how much of it is like, are you thinking like months ahead versus weeks ahead versus like, I got a problem right now?
Yeah, all of it. And it gets very complicated very fast. And especially now when it takes forever to get things delivered to the job site. And we're ordering things now that we need next September and thinking, oh, wow, we might have an issue if it takes, 2 weeks longer. So thinking ahead always. So we have a master schedule that is constantly changing. And it takes a lot of creativity as things come up. And there's different types of tasks, and some can be critical path, like the framing, for example, because no one else can get in there until the framer is done. So if the framer is delayed, then that means there's 10 people behind him that are delayed. And so we have to let them know that they can't start on time. So it's a lot of moving pieces.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that must be really challenging. Another thing I was going to ask you is, particularly as a woman in the construction business, did you have a mentor? And if so, how did you find that person?
You know what? I did not have a mentor. I looked for one, but I didn't know anybody. As far as a woman goes, I went to some networking events, but I did read a lot and read some books by women who are in different industries that helped a little bit. But I found that I've met some women coming up behind me that that has been really rewarding to help move them through or give them advice where I didn't have advice. So that has been really rewarding.
Gabby's got a question, looks like.
Last one, I think. So since this is like a men-dominated industry, how do you socialize with like other like majority men? Do you like have like a social group within work?
That's a really good question. And that, when I first started, was probably the hardest thing for me to do because I was the youngest and I was a woman, and everyone else had kids and families at home and lived in the suburbs, and I lived in the city, and I didn't have much in common with them on paper. And so I felt like an outsider. And like I said, it's a people business, so it was pretty uncomfortable, but I owned being an outsider and almost played it like a joke, almost like laughed at myself. When they were all talking about cars and whatnot, I would throw in something about makeup and, they would laugh. So I have seen some people that try to assimilate too much, where they change who they are, and I did not want to do that. You have to assimilate somewhat like I wasn't gonna be wearing. I try not to wear pink too much. Some people do, but that just helped me assimilate a little bit in my mind, you know, whatever works for you to make you feel confident. But actually the socializing part eventually came, and then, you know, they asked me for advice on what to get their wives, and so it's just a unique friendship. And I have friends that there's no way I'd be friends with some of these people if I wasn't in this industry.
All right, so you ready for, as we wrap up, we have a couple of wacky questions.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. Favorite snack on the job? Favorite food on the job?
Favorite what?
Food on the job. Snack, whatever it is.
Hummus.
Hummus.
Nothing from the food trucks.
All right, I'll take your advice on that one. You had to visit anywhere on Earth, where would it be?
Greece.
Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's a really good one. One place in the country that you would like to go that you haven't gone?
I'd like to go to Big Sky, Montana.
Do you watch the show?
No, I don't.
I think you should do your homework and watch the show.
I should.
All right. So, what is your favorite song? Your favorite song or group or artist you're listening to right now?
Taylor Swift. Always listen to Taylor Swift.
Okay. All right. I got that. You know, I like take those songs from people. I guess I have to deal with Taylor Swift now. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind it. How often? What do you do to like not go crazy being a director? Like, what is your self-care thing? What do you do?
So I like to go for hikes. I like Blue Hills and Middlesex Fells. I like to decompress, and it feels like I'm getting away from the busyness of construction.
So, not to stereotype construction, that self-care sounds very, very similar to what the job is like. But all right, I thought I was gonna hear something about ice cream or something, but that's all right. I'm okay with that. Students, do you guys have any more questions before I keep so I can stop asking these wacky questions? Tell me. All right, last one. What animal are you most afraid of? Like me, mice, rodents. I'll fight a grown man before I even mess with any of them.
Honestly, I hate moths. They freak me out.
Like Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. Well, actually, probably never seen Silence of the Lambs, but yeah. Don't watch that movie then if you hate moths. LJ, you got it.
All right. I might be starting to run out of questions as well, but if you were to talk to, say, someone in high school who wanted to get into construction, whether it be a trade or a management, what's the one thing you tell them not to do?
I would say not to worry about fitting in a box of what you think that role should be, and also don't believe everything that everyone tells you, because everyone has a different experience. So take advice with a grain of salt.
Well, we have a student. Our last question is a student wacky question, and it's about your hair.
Okay.
I can't relate, but go ahead, Gabby.
I mean, I just want to know what you do with your hair. It's like, it looks so good.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I actually did not wash it today and went to a workout class, so it's just sweat.
Wait, that's you on a bad day?
Oh my god.
Well, thank you.
That's hilarious. Miss Audycki, thank you for joining us so much. We appreciate your time. Seriously, this is great, so informative. I'm so excited to actually like drive around and look at buildings and see if, maybe this is her building, and you might have to start like emailing us, let us know, like, hey, I have a building going up in downtown Boston, check it out. But yeah, thank you so much. LJ?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much, Anna. We really appreciate your time. Lit Conversations, again, we put working professionals in conversations with schools, and it's programs like these that we think really make a difference. And thank you very much, Corey, and thank you, Anna, and to all the students with your great questions.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, have a great night.
You too.